It is 11/19/11, November 19th, 2011. And this is The Talking Dead. One of the best shows that you'll ever listen to. Maybe. And I'm Jason.
This is Paul.
This is Bob.
And before we get started, I want to let everybody know if they go to the Zombie Popcorn website right now, zombiepopcorn.com, they will see in the contest section that we are giving away $100. And you may ask yourself, how do I get $100? Well,
Jason, how do I get $100?
No, you're supposed to ask yourself that.
Oh.
Not me.
Wow. Self, how do I get $100?
Well, let me tell you. Right now, because if you listen to any other past episodes, you know that we are now on Stitcher Smart Radio. And Stitcher Smart Radio, I get a text from my mom.
Sorry, that was Stitcher.
Yeah, that was Stitcher, just tell it. But they're an award-winning app. They focus on talk radio, talk news, podcast, everything else. And we're on there. And you can listen to every one of our shows there.
God, we must have pulled the wool over their eyes.
Shh, don't tell them. Don't tell them. But if you go to Stitcher.com/zombiepopcorn, zombie popcorn are one word, you can download the app from there. You put in the promotional code Zombie Popcorn, all one word, and after you download the app during registration, once it's on your smartphone during registration, click on how did you hear about this app and put Zombie Popcorn in there, and that automatically enters you to win $100. It's that easy. So if you missed the steps or you want to just enter, just go to zombiepopcorn.com, click on the banner on the right hand side, or go to the contest section and enter to win
money,
and listen to our shows because it's on demand. You don't ever have to sync your phone again,
or stay up and wait for next Saturday to come. So
yeah,
you can listen.
It just automatically puts it on there. As soon as I put it up, it's on your phone. That's awesome. That's Stitcher.com. I know, I listen to it all the time. So all that out of the way, how are things?
Good.
Yeah. What's new?
I don't know. That was just my response for the general how are things. You got anything, Bob?
I got nothing.
All right. This is going to be a short show.
Okay, look. Thanks for tuning in. We're out of here.
Go to Stitcher.
So the women folk are out.
They are watching werewolves and vampires take off their shirts as we speak.
I think there's zombies in this one.
I don't think so.
Did you know there's a local kid that's in the movie?
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the. He'll be featured in the in the second part of Breaking Dawn.
There's a woman who's in this one too. That's local.
There's a lot of women in it.
I got sent some stuff at work because of where I work, like the actors we use and stuff where they're doing projects, and but I never pay that much attention to who's who. So
yeah,
but someone local's in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, in the first part, he's just sort of there, and then in the second part, he'll have more of a prominent role and some speaking lines. And so he's a local kid, local guy makes good.
Yeah. Cool.
If you call it being in a Breaking Bad movie making good.
Breaking Bad, Breaking Dawn.
I mean, Breaking
different.
Breaking Bad.
It's a check.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it was like
seriously.
Some kind of Freudian stuff. I'm like, Breaking Dawn is bad. Breaking Bad.
Which are both are pretty.
Have you seen right now Breaking Dawn on Metacritic has like one of the lowest reviews ever.
Right.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's getting
I mean, I don't think any of them are that good, but I think they're just the movies that people love to hate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, they're like legitimate mainstream critics. It's falling. Metacritic is like this website. They assign a number score to the
right,
and they have some secret code as to how they do it. So anyway, the media critics, the legitimate critics, they're averaging about 45% on a scale of 100.
Mm-hmm.
and then they categorize the reviews as like positive, negative, neutral, and most of the reviews are neutral. Most critics are like, meh.
Yeah.
But like A.O. Scott from the New York Times, or from the he's the Times. He actually liked it, and then I think Manola Dargis, she liked it too. But then like Peter Travers of the Rolling Stone, he hated it. He really couldn't stand it. And then Metacritic does this other thing too, where you get like user reviews, and those are where people are really dumping on the hate.
Yeah,
it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 2.1.
Yeah, wow. It's kind of like what's the name of it was like the Jay and Silent Bob movie where what's the review website?
Movie Poop Shoot.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, the internet is where you go to bash on things because you know that nobody will do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yep. I love the internet.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, one of the guys I work with, he went and saw it, and he was like, "I love it. Oh my god, I can't wait." And I was like, "Oh man, when did you grow lady parts?"
Hey, there's a dude we've had on this show a couple times that we know loves it.
Who loves it?
Hassan.
Oh yeah. I was like, who loves it?
Yeah. It was awesome though because we were asking him like, Edward or Jacob, and the wives are all like, "Oh, Edward," and he's like, "No, Jacob, because Edward has no personality." And I was like, he doesn't. And he's like, it's like, I never looked at the movie the way you looked at it. This guy had like deep insight into it. So good for Hassan.
Yeah, we should have him back on to get his review on.
Yeah, since he lives near that area now.
Yeah, sure does. In the vampire area.
Yeah. The vampire area?
Yeah. So what are y'all planning on doing for Thanksgiving? I'm just going to sing everything on this show.
Nothing. I don't have any really big plans. It's a day to sit on the couch and watch movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat a lot.
I am too.
Yeah, that's about it.
I was funny the other day. I was leaving work, and a coworker was leaving with me. We were closing up the store. And I go, "So you working next week?" Because I only work with this person like one day a week.
Right.
And it happens to be before Thanksgiving. And they said they didn't know if they were going to work. I said, "Well, if I don't see you anyway, have a good Thanksgiving. See you after the break." And they go, "I don't celebrate Thanksgiving." And I was like, "Oh, cool, that's cool. We really don't either, whatever." She goes, "You know why I don't celebrate Thanksgiving?"
Oh, I hate it when they won't stop at that.
And I was like, "No,
I don't appreciate the slaughter of indigenous cultures."
No, it was better than that. They said, because I don't see in 30 or 60 years from now us sitting down and having a meal over the Holocaust.
Huh?
And I went, "Cool. I'll see you next week."
What Holocaust is she talking about? Like World War II?
It's like, like we're not going to celebrate
the Holocaust that I don't know about yet.
No, they were talking about the Holocaust that has happened, the Nazi Holocaust.
Thanksgiving has nothing to do with that.
They were making the reference that since it was genocide of the Native Americans, that it's equivalent to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I just went.
All right. I could see where she would go there.
No, you can't.
No. And you know what? And I'll tell you why. Because you cannot trace your hand and make some sort of Holocaust decoration in school. You can trace your hand and make a fucking
turkey.
What are you gonna say? I don't even know what you can make.
Yeah.
You had a Rick Perry moment.
Yeah, you remember you used to always trace your hand and draw the turkey on there, and then you do it with green paper in December. They just flip it upside down, and they make the tree on the door of all the kids. Yeah.
It's, okay, fine. I can.
I don't know if that's the definitive.
I could see somebody like going there. I was like, "Oh, you ruined everything."
Yeah, I don't ever really think of Thanksgiving as, I really want to think back and, to me, it's not a history lesson. It's just an excuse to have a lot of food.
But wait.
And be like, yeah, I'm glad I can at least afford to buy this food.
Yeah.
I do an anarchist podcast. I should be on board with this, but I don't even buy it.
But everybody loves a good meal.
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
I know.
I mean, I don't expect you to call the Butterball hotline, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of went.
Because if there's ever anything we're always going to do in 30 years, we'll be sitting down to eat.
No,
that's like that's what we excel at.
People do that every day.
Yeah, but not with thanks.
Yeah, I know.
That is true. We have to give 1 year for it, or one day for it. Year. Do it for a whole year.
I mean, it's kind of a cool holiday when you think.
Miley thinks it's a really cool holiday because it's her birthday on that day.
It's like the American mindfulness eating day. Only we overindulge. I mean,
and then the next day is the best day ever. Shopping.
Yeah.
Not really, but.
Yeah. And the leftovers are great. See, my family always has the dinner at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, my folks always did that too, which I always thought it was the weirdest thing. Like,
see, I grew up.
We usually eat at like 5 or 6. Why today?
No, you got to do it at the earliest possible. Lunchtime dinner is the best because when you finally get that,
because around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you
making sandwiches.
Sandwiches are so damn good.
Yeah. Dinner's at 1. I expect to be in a food coma by 1:45.
I want to be in a food coma.
Food coma. Food coma.
And
be a food
it's
colon.
amazing.
Be a completely
I always
different
feel
thing.
kind of sorry for my mom because she spent like hours and hours on this meal, and it's over in like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And nobody,
we weren't like a
like
slow eating family. Everyone's just sitting there.
Nobody's talking.
I think it's funny that
Gravy now. Yeah.
There's like Christmas time comes around and everybody comes in wanting holiday movies, right? And there's like 6 Thanksgiving movies that I can think of, and then like 500 Christmas movies.
What Thanksgiving movies?
Home for the Holidays comes to mind.
Okay.
That's probably about the only one I can think of. And then they're like, okay, a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you got that. There's Thanksgiving now. I've seen that on. I haven't watched it, but.
And they're also talking about doing another from the trailer from
the Eli Roth movie.
Yeah.
I figured that's what Thanksgiving was. It was someone ripping off that idea, or.
Well, I don't see how you could rip that out. I think that idea has been floating around. It's just nobody's
I mean, but there's already a movie that I don't know what it's about. I would assume it was around the same idea.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
So.
I haven't seen it either.
I mean, it is a good idea. The whole freaking house is filled with sharp utensils. It's some accidents are bound to occur or murders.
I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were talking about, why we don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, I plan on waking up, editing video.
Edit, monkey, edit.
No, I'm just gonna eat and celebrate Miley's birthday and eat some more.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, that's it. So it's cool. So before we jump into the meat of the show, me and you are working on a new episode podcast thing about the history of instruments, pretty much. He's like, I don't know.
No, we are.
You remind me sometimes. My favorite. Did you ever see the movie L.A. Story?
No.
In it, Steve Martin is in
LA.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was thinking LA Confidential.
But there's the scene where
I remind you of The Sign.
No. They're having the dinner party, and he turns to the woman and he says, "So I understand you're taking a class, the art of conversation," and she goes, "Yes."
Yeah. I like the awkward silence.
Which usually you're like on and on and on about anything.
Yeah.
But as soon as anybody wants something out of you, yep.
Normally I wouldn't care. I'd be like, whatever. But dead air.
Right. No, the only thing I remember about L.A. Story is when they're each making love to their different partners, and they show the bubbles of what everybody's thinking. And like Steve Martin's thinking of the woman in the other room. I think the woman in the other room is thinking of Steve Martin. The young girl that Steve Martin's with is thinking
Sarah
of
Jessica Parker.
Yeah, that's right. Who's she thinking of?
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, and then the guy.
Yeah, he's
that's
thinking
with
Mel
her.
Gibson too.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was Mel Gibson or himself.
I think it was Mel Gibson.
Okay, I thought it was himself. Either way, it's funny.
That's one of my
Which is a
favorite
cool
movies.
tactic if you've ever find yourself again, which
Thinking of
hopefully
Mel
we are.
Gibson?
No, actually, this isn't a story to share.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to self-edit. I'll tell this story.
Why now?
No, because
Here, wait a second. Let me turn everything on.
Because I saw this. I saw
Okay,
this
now
horizon
everything is no longer-
starting to approach with this big old red line, and I was just like,
hey, look at that.
I was like, wait a minute. Normally I cross this and work backwards, but this time.
This time not happening.
Yeah.
Well, all the cameras and the mics are off.
Right,
Feel free
no,
to share.
that's not the case.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
That red light means pause, baby.
Yeah, that's all it is. So,
Make sure
were
you make eye
saying?
contact with it.
Yeah, just look straight at it and tell your story. No, but we're doing another podcast episode thing.
Yeah, about
series.
different instruments because, or, yeah, anything really that makes sound. Yeah.
You know, the point is, it's obscure instruments, things you may not have heard or seen.
Right,
before.
right.
You're not going to be like,
well-
this is the 6-string Fender guitar. Like,
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, it's so funny because I'll do it and I'll talk about something, and then I think this, like the first one we're doing are on the singing bowls.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not that exotic anymore. I'm just like, oh god, everybody knows about these things.
No, they really don't.
But they don't.
No, I don't.
I've immersed myself so much in this kind of stuff that it's like porn. It just has to get dirtier and dirtier until all of a sudden you're crying in the mirror and you're like, who have you become? It just no.
I was
so
There's
that
that
red
red
light
light.
really means Paul's, right? No, but yeah. So it occurred to me that I actually know a bit about this stuff, and I go on like forums where other people are like nerds about it, and there's people that know more, but I don't know if our listeners know anything about it. So, and people are always kind of interested when I tell them about it.
Well, we know they don't because every time we talk about...
I totally had no idea what they were.
When we're doing the live show, every time we would talk about your music or whatever instrument, 3D Movie Man, or we would get a message from somebody going, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. So we've got lots of instruments and odd things, and
We just finished shooting the first episode of the show. We're putting the final touches on it.
yeah.
I think if somebody were to ask me, like, name 5 obscure musical instruments, I'd be like, there's like a little violin, I think, and then there's that Australian thing.
Didgeridoo.
That one, and then
You're not actually naming them.
and then there's that Australian thing 3 more times. That's all I got.
And they call it. There's another name for it that's the more traditional that begins with a Y.
And I think I saw
Like
a video where a
Yukata
guy
or
was
something.
playing a vacuum cleaner. He was.
Oh, yeah.
They like put their hand over the suction of the vacuum cleaner, and it's like wah, wah, it makes some funny noise. I don't know if that has a name or not, but that's pretty odd.
Probably not, but that's cool.
He's going to go home and try it.
The point being is, I'm just Joe Rube.
Right.
And so I was like, wow, singing bowls, nice.
Yeah. Well, cool. Then we'll. Yeah, that first one was a little rushed. I'll hopefully the second one I'll actually put a little work into it. I mean, it's good. It's good.
We had to get the feel
I
of
just
it.
remembered more stuff. I was like, oh, why didn't I say this or that? But hopefully we'll add some links to it for like more info and cool sites about each instrument.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, where you can go and buy some if you want.
Yeah.
And maybe how you can rip off the sound without actually buying them. Like a cool, if you use a wok lid, it sounds like a really low bowl. It's a little more dull, but it can have a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Every time we make Chinese, I'm like, get back, and then I'll go and hit the lampshade, and it's like really tight, so it sounds like a drum. I'm like, dung, dung, dung. Yeah, it never ends. So, and maybe we'll get into making dumb instruments out of junk.
It's kind of interesting about that. I thought one of the most interesting aspects of that movie, It Might Get Loud. Did you see that?
No.
It's
a
Jack
sequel
White,
to. No, I'm just-
The Edge, and the guy from Zeppelin.
Page.
Yeah, Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
And no, it's not Jimmy Page.
Plant.
Maybe
Robert
it is
Plant.
Page. Maybe it is Page. Yeah, it is. It's Page.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Page, The Edge, and Jack White. And basically the whole thing is they're sitting around
Someone told me about
talking
this movie.
about guitar licks, and they're showing
Yeah.
each other guitar licks. But the movie opens with Jack Black making a one-string guitar out of a Coke bottle, some sticks, and a pickup.
Yeah,
And he's like, he just strings around, and then he's like, and he's playing it, and he's like running the slide up and down, and it's plugged into his amp, and he's like, see, there you go.
Yeah. There's a.
And like for me, I was like, that's awesome. That was the coolest part of the movie.
You ever like early blues music? A lot of the guitars were cigar box guitars, and they're getting really popular again. There's all sorts of forums online and videos on how to make your own, and they're normally like 3 strings or something like that. But yeah, I've been thinking about making one. They look fun, but I've seen them made out of cans. Seen them made out of a canned ham, container, Spam. Yeah, it's cool. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, well, so the point being is that there's I think there's some interest in obscure musical instruments, not just obscure ones, but like homemade, that kind of thing. I mean, like I said, for me, that was one of the coolest moments in that movie where Jack White makes that guitar,
Yeah,
and he
that's
does
cool.
it in like 5 minutes. Obviously, it looks like he's done it before,
Right? Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Was he got a Coke bottle there or something? And then he's like, you're shredding it up, and I was like,
funny.
wow, that's pretty cool.
That's
I
cool.
want to go do that.
Well, if you like that, then you should stay tuned for our new episode, which we don't have a name for it yet.
Yeah,
We're still working on. I mean, we're gonna get one up before we get the name for it, because
probably because we're pretty slow with names.
yeah, and that plus, we just like filming shit.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So stay
Paul's
tuned.
segment of musical awesomeness.
Yep.
Paul's magical world of sounds and delights.
Can you find
Where
the
you enter
golden-
a magical world of sound.
We should you should grow a beard, and we set up the environment like the guy who did all the paintings on
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
Yeah.
And you could do that,
This is
do
a
the show like
magical
that.
happy guitar.
Sometimes you just need a little fluffy flute sound. God bless. And then wave by with your hands straight. God bless. Dude, I still every once in a while will like put it on Create, which is like I don't know, our channel. It's like 109. And it's like old. It's kind of like the NPR of HGTV, I guess. And it's awesome. They'll show old, like the best of joy of painting. And it doesn't matter like how foul of a mood you're in. If you watch Bob Ross for an hour, you feel all right. You're just like, yeah. His voice alone is like Percocet, It's just like, and we're just going to put this here. We're just going to bang this brush off. No need to get fancy about it. Just bang the paint off. Then we're going to just tap ever so lightly. Because maybe we'll put a tree right here.
And it's a happy tree.
Yeah, right. And, well, no. That's usually it's clouds. And he goes, so we have a tree right here, but he looks lonely. Let's make him a little friend. Everybody needs a friend. They're the most important things in our lives. And I'm just like, I need to call him again. What happened?
It was funny because one day I was at work and my phone rings and I pick it up and it's just somebody crying on the other end.
Yeah.
I had no idea who it was until he came over to do the show and he's like, that was me that
Pastel? Pastel? Is that what you Cobalt blue? The blue is so good in the sky. Yeah. Yeah, Bob Ross is awesome.
called. Obviously.
Yeah. I'd love to own a Bob Ross original painting.
That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to those painting conventions. I'm sure you could find.
And then be like, it's probably a knockoff. I bet there's like a market for knockoff Bob Rosses. Yeah.
Well, how many he did a painting every episode? How many episodes did he do?
Lots. And then, what he taught, because he taught people and then did his own. So
My parents used to like to go to Ocean City, Maryland, and there was like this big, along the boardwalk, there was like this big art shop. And basically all they sold were those massive, like landscapes
Sand dunes
and seascapes. And they, I don't know. I don't forget. I have no idea how much they paid for them.
yeah, that's all they sell here.
And
I mean,
But I mean, they would buy these big. Every year they would go and buy like these big paintings. And then one time I saw this show where it was like this Japanese or Chinese Asian dude. He painted like 8 of them in the span of 10 minutes, all with a paintbrush that you paint the side of your house with, and they all were the same, just a little bit different.
Yeah.
He painted 8 of them all at the same time, and I was like, holy shit, my mom bought that painting.
Wow.
and the next time I went back to the beach, we went to that same shop again, and I was like flipping through the stuff, and I was like, holy shit, there's like this whole weird world of mass-produced, landscapes and seascapes, all probably from the Bob Ross school.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were as happy about it as he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think his paintings have more integrity. But, I talked to this guy once. We were talking about photography, and he said he used to make money, he would sell stuff at flea markets, and he would try and sell art. And what he would do, and this is brilliant, he said I would go get like the cheap loaf of day-old bread or the bread from the dollar store. He said I would throw it all over the beach, right? And I'd wait for all these seagulls to get there, and then I'd run, and they'd take off, and I'd snap a picture of it. And he said, and then I'd put it on some like really cheap gold leafing foil, like backing thing, and put a fucking Bible verse or Psalms on it. And he said I would, on a cheap wooden frame, he said I would sell that shit every week, man. That's freaking
the power
brilliant.
of the Bible.
Yeah.
That is the coolest thing I ever
We
heard.
should do that. Wait a minute.
Well, that like George Carlin used to always say, like, if you nail together 2 things that have never been nailed together before, some asshole will buy it.
That's funny. That reminds me of since it's a slow news day, I'll tell the other story I have about nails and religion. So I
Those two go together? What?
yeah. So well, I mean, come on. So I knew this guy. I used to work with him. I interned under him when I was came back from school, and needed to work at one of the studios. So he lived in Williamsburg, and in colonial Williamsburg, like in one of the houses there and everything. So he knew a lot of the people that were reenactors, and there was this guy who was the black.
They're historical interpreters.
Thank you. I'm sorry. That was like saying masseuse or stewardess. I apologize to any of the historical interpreters. So he knew said people, and the guy was a blacksmith, and he's sitting there, and a family comes in, and this guy goes, "What you making?" And he's like, "Oh, sir, I am making nails." And the guy goes, they didn't have nails back then. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, we had all nails for this kind of nail for this work. The blacksmith, they did not have nails back then. There were no such thing as nails. And he goes, oh, no, sir, really? And this goes on and on and on. And the guy's like, they didn't have nails. And finally the blacksmith goes, fine, sir, they screwed Christ to the cross. and he lost his job over it, which sucks. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I just thought it was the funniest thing. The blacksmith broke, and he's like, you never heard a Bible story about nail? I mean, yeah, yes, they screwed Christ to the cross. Could you imagine? I was just picturing oh man, that would really suck.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on to the show now.
Moving on.
We got the intros
This
and
is no time for levity. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently our stories aren't good enough for the show.
Yeah,
so.
these stories suck, and it's time to get to some real business.
Those
are fun
of business.
Yes. So there's Scientific America has put out an article recently. It says that digital movies to be replaced by film. They're to replace film, not replaced by film, because film exists already. By 2015. What do you think about this?
It's inevitable.
Yeah, they're blaming Avatar for
it, but it's inevitable.
They're blaming Avatar. They're saying Avatar started this trend.
It's like the guy who drove the stagecoach blaming the train.
Yeah. There's or the motor car.
Yeah.
You know. And I remember hearing like stories about the companies that, you know, they made products for stagecoaches and then they all went out of business or actually for horses and carriages, and because they thought of themselves as making this part instead of making things that propel. Like, you know, he made like the whip and then they turned it into something else that propelled a car, you know, and I mean, it'll happen.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, it should be better for
the guys that own the Narrow
and what's wrong
cinema, with that? They have a 35 millimeter projector.
Yeah, and he prefers to do all the films.
Yeah, but they got a letter from Sony because like since it's an art house cinema, they show a lot of Sony classics and focus features, and they got a letter from Sony like, hey, get your digital projector because it's going to happen.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like, you know.
Well, it's nice that they're sending it out to independent, not just leaving them in the dust.
Yeah.
My wife still has a film camera. We still have an entire dark room set up. And, you know, if we finally get the house we want one day, maybe we'll set up a little dark room. But
I still have all my dark room
eventually, it'll go away. I mean, film was cool, and there was an art to it. There really was. I mean, I was good at taking the photos, but Jan was like amazing at the burning and dodging and, you know, looking at it and go, no, I need to do this to get the contrast here. And you know, it sucks. It's an art that'll be lost, but it's not that big of a deal. You know, I mean, there's just film will go away.
I think that
just like the conversation we had last week, eventually CDs will go away. Which is fine as long as the quality stays the same or improves. Now, if the picture goes down, to me, that's not it.
I think what we talked about last week also, James Cameron is pushing to get the quality to go so much. He's shooting his next films at higher frame rates.
Yeah, so that's okay with me.
That's fine with me too.
You know, and then it'll go full. It already has to where everything's shot digital, and now we're trying to replicate old crappy film looks.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, I was talking with somebody today. And he was renting the Criterion Blu-ray of Seven Samurai, right?
Oh yeah.
And Criterion is that company. They go all over the world to great lengths to get the best print.
I got the for sale when sadly Borders was going out of business. The double disc of Vampire, the French one, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
they do such a
thorough
job.
Was it Criterion or was it the Bluray?
No, it was Criterion. It was on DVD.
Like Criterion alone is
it was on DVD,
but their Blu-rays now. That I don't know. I forget what year Seven Samurai was made. I don't know, 50s or something like that.
Yeah.
If you watch that thing on Blu-ray on a big TV, it looks like it was filmed yesterday.
Really?
It is so crisp and clear.
Well, they do a lot of work to restore and without making it go overboard.
So I mean, like, why not go to a digital media? It looks great. It looks so good,
and it preserves the life of it.
Right.
As long as your hard drive doesn't die.
Yeah. Now, and look, there's something to be said for, and it's that same kind of nostalgia with LPs and CDs. Now, there's going to be something to having it in your hand, but
well, you know, people said that about books.
Going to move forward.
I bought the Nook when it first came out, the first generation of the Nook. And as soon as somebody saw me with it, reading a book on it, people were always like, "No, I gotta have the book. I gotta have the smell of the paper, flipping the book." I don't care. I love the Nook. I love that I can have 100 books on there. I can download a book anytime I want if I'm looking for a new subject that I want to read about.
Right.
Yeah, Jan's more into the books than I am. I think she likes to look at them displayed. And because we always mostly buy horror and sci-fi, the colors are kind of muted and dark, so altogether they look great.
Yeah.
You know, with our stuff. But
I'd be so happy to get rid of that bookshelf.
But I mean, I love our bookshelves and all our books and stuff. Too. But I'm okay with having them all on there. I'd like to actually have both or have a choice.
Well, see, the thing is for books is like the book that I gave you about H.P. Lovecraft. Books like that I would totally have. Because digital cannot replicate just something that was just done because it was done for the love of H.P. Lovecraft or for whatever.
I mean, you could argue that with every book.
No, there's a lot of books that I have over there. Like World War Z is not done just because of the love for Max Brooks.
Yeah, you're just saying because it's a special edition book.
Right, you're talking about the Arkham Press.
Yes, the Arkham Press type stuff. And
have you seen the? I actually bought the whole thing of H.P. Lovecraft, similar to the one you have. Only it has a different cover, and it's put out by the Barnes and Noble Press. Puts them out for like $20, you know, and it's like everything he ever wrote. And then they have an H.G. Wells one, and it has all the cool artwork on it. And
see stuff like that.
They're really nice.
I would get collectors like that of things that I was really into. But having the Nook has increased my level, my reading amount, because before I didn't.
And now you're going at an 8th grade level, which
I know, and it's great. It's great.
We're really proud of your progress.
Oh, well, thank you.
We were actually going to give you one of those like McDonald's dollar books or something for Sunday.
No, I'm just saying is like I would read if like sit down to read a book. I would only get a book if it intrigued me at the time. Like for example, in Iceland, I bought 2 books in Iceland. It's the only thing that I bought in Iceland. So I could learn more about it, about just that subject at the time, and I read
them
those.
If they had it in PDF form.
Well, they actually did send it to me, so I could put it.
Yeah,
in my
that's
note.
right. I remember.
And when I was in Scotland, the only book I bought in Scotland was about the history of Scotland. So I could, and that's the only time I buy books to read it. That before I got the Nook, and now that I get the Nook, anytime I have an idea for a subject, I just download it and read it, and it's increased my reading level. Or not level, but amount.
Right.
More than it would be with with physical.
There's something to be said for the they call them, in fact now they call them the dead tree versions of a book.
No.
And
that sounds like it was put out by someone who works for the industry of Kindle.
Yeah, I heard, Kindle. No, I heard some lady was talking about it. In the
no, I'm fine.
She was a journalist, and she was talking about print journalism, and she was like, she was talking about the advent of online media, and like in the industry, whenever something's what you hold in your hand, they call that the dead tree version, and but there's something to be said for the dead tree version of books. I mean, I like being able to take out a book and open it up and flip through the pages, and there's something about it. But I'm also not averse to the digital media at all. I mean, yeah, if I was going on a trip or going to be on a plane, heck yeah, man, that is the way to go, man.
Yeah.
That's like, it was hard enough to hold on to a book and keep it
dry.
Like all the pages keep it from falling out. Now you just have a Nook, and it's sits in your backpack or in your back pocket,
and it's backed up on your cloud or whatever.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and you can have it anywhere. And we're purging our house now. We're getting rid of a lot of stuff, and I'm about to do what I did with my CDs when I started doing MP3s. Anything that I had, I took all my CDs and ripped them, and as soon as I ripped them and made them digital format, I got rid of the CDs.
I did the same thing.
I'm about to do that with my books. Whatever books that I don't want to keep, I'm getting the digital version, and I'm getting rid of the.
See, I can't do that.
I couldn't do that with books either.
I can't.
It's the same content.
I can do it with CDs, but
I'm not doing it with all of them. There are some books that, like my H.P. Lovecraft, like those books that I have some kind of connection.
Huh? Yeah, there's some books I can part with.
But I'm definitely not getting rid of my Lovecraft. I'm definitely not getting rid of a couple other books over there.
There's probably like a whole. I probably got like several boxes of just like. The $5-6 paperbacks.
Yeah, I mean
those can go away.
Yeah.
Those usually, if I don't like them enough, they don't go up on the shelf.
Yeah, and I have a pile already in the back bedroom of books.
And we had to go out recently and buy another bookcase because we're up to like 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 in the apartment. And they're not like huge bookcases. They're like the IKEA bookcase.
Yeah.
The Braun, or no, actually it's the Billy. But I don't know. I'd have trouble getting rid of all my CDs. I mean, I still listen to them in the car because
it was funny. Books would be hard. CDs for me was easy.
I wouldn't get rid of either. Yeah.
I don't know. Reference books, I'm not getting rid of.
Yeah. Reference books are always handy.
I'm not getting rid of those. I'm keeping those.
Why?
It's just
if you could just have that on PDF, what's the difference between that and a real book? I mean, it's
the fact that the way I use reference books, I have notes in them. It's like I haven't back when I used to rehab.
But you can't put it on like a document or a text document.
I can, but like I was looking at my bookshelf. There's a book there. Back when I used to rehab bats, I had a rehab manual book that the person who taught me how to rehab bats, she wrote, and I have a lot of notes in there. I'm never getting rid of that because it's easier for me to know because I know where everything is already. The pages and the format on reference books on PDF or on either ebook or PDF is just a little bit different. I haven't gotten accustomed to that yet. It may be different when I get the tablet, when I get the Transformer Prime. It may be easier.
I think I'm going to really nerd out on a little bit. Right? So I've been playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
And the company they're publishing all the rules books and everything is Wizards of the Coast, and they're very big into the online digital media, right? You can like all the rules compendium, they're all online, but opening your computer and turning it on and then logging in and getting to the page and looking it up, it all is like it's all there. It's more complete and more comprehensive and more up to date. But it's just hard. It's kind of hard to get to. Whereas I'm telling you, dude, my player's handbook, I just like will it and then it opens to the right page because it's like so well thumbed through.
Wait, we're gonna have to bring up this topic in our other podcast. You willed a book to open.
Yeah. Yeah. You just
wait a minute.
It's just like it's a metaphor. But it's just like, oh my god, where's the rules for the rogue? And I was like, there it is, right? It's like right there, and there's something about the ease of opening up a reference book. I could totally get that.
Yeah.
Like that's
all of my software now, any of the recording software, it never comes with a book anymore.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can pay more to get it, but when you just buy the program, you install it and it has like the help center in it. And
I say I won't read a reference book on the computer.
Yeah, well that's all you get anymore for a lot of software. But it is nice to have that book because it's so much easier to be looking at your screen and then glance down at the book and be working on it than to have to close that window out.
So, as far as digital media, I don't think I think the digital media will augment the written word, but I don't think it'll replace it fully.
No, I mean there's elements that you're going to need. I mean, they're improving. I mean, right now, no, it's not going to. I do see in the future, especially with the new technology where they're coming out with bendable displays and stuff.
It's possible in a couple 100 years.
I would even say even sooner than that.
Well, no.
So,
you know what I'm saying though.
Oh, you're saying to actually wipe it out?
Yeah. Because technology never moves as fast as we think it's going to.
That we hope it would.
Yeah.
Even though it moves at a faster pace now than it ever has.
Yeah.
In the mid 90s, when the home computers were like exploding all over the world and everybody was getting the internet was happening.
I built a website. I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. I worked in an industry that was it was paper industry, right? We sold equipment to the paper industry. And paper industry is huge, right?
Yeah.
And they were shitting their pants.
I'm sure.
Because they were like, it was like, I remember the Navy was like, oh, we're going to go paperless. It was going to be the paperless Navy. And, everything was going to be on the internet. And the paper industry was shitting its pants because they were like, oh, we are fucked. They were like, oh my God, paper is going to go away. Paper is going to be done in 10 years. There will be no more paper. Well, it turns out in 10 years, paper use has just gone through the roof. We are using more
we're printing
paper
shit
now
up
than ever.
Yeah.
And
again, we're at that moment when tablets and the technology for tablets increase and get better.
I'm sitting here holding the paper in my hand right now because it's easy and convenient, and that's why paper will never go away.
What I'm just saying, but when tablets become, once I get, for example, when I get the Transformer Prime, I'm not printing this out anymore.
You'll print out one for me and Paul.
Yeah, I'll print out one for you and Paul. But
there was a guy at one point going, dude, that stone is going to last so much longer than that fucking papyrus, man.
Yeah.
That shit.
No.
You got to roll it up. I found an old clay jar with some man in the desert the other day. It looks like moths had eaten the shit out of them.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers are never going away.
Papyrus, that's a fad. That'll never catch on.
Turns out stone usage has gone up in the last.
Well, I think when it comes to the written word, whether it's digital or on paper. I think those two worlds can live together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But CDs and
I think that LPs and CDs will be a fringe industry.
Yeah.
But I think that as far as distributing movies, it'll all be digital, because how many of us have a 35 millimeter print?
Well, look at what's going on now. Look at not just Netflix, stuff like that, but look at what Google just launched when they did what made their Google Music public. The fact that Paul, who owns his rights to all of his music, who writes all of his music, he's not attached to a record label, can now use Google, use their platform to name his own price, to upload all his music, to create his own digital albums and sell it. And that's
the downside to that. The only downside that I see, sometimes it's nice to be associated with the label because they have a brand, and a lot of times they've done the work.
But I don't think the kids today care about that.
No, but I know which labels, what their artists sound like, and what caliber they are.
You do, because you're an old man.
Yeah, maybe so. But I mean, labels are still around. Even how there are net labels out there that put everything out for free.
Yeah.
And I know which net labels are good and which ones are bad. And if one comes on this net label, it's not worth checking out. One goes on this net label.
But just because you put it up on Google Music doesn't mean you can't attach yourself.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it is so awesome to do it by yourself. I'm just saying one little tick in the disappointment, not one little caveat would be that sometimes it's nice to be associated with a label or a brand or something like that.
But
that's a small thing, because you can.
But another beauty of it, you could put your own music up there, and then by doing such good sales and getting such publicity, that these labels can come up to you and go, okay, we are actually going to give you more money now, and so you can sign on to.
Yeah, I mean, all the music I do, no label's ever gonna like give you an advance or anything.
No, I know.
It doesn't really. Thank you. But we were talking about CDs and digital media for music the other day, and I was boo-hooing and crying over the loss of CDs. But it did occur to me, so instead of sleeping at night when Jan falls asleep and I'm like awake, I was like, what would the benefits be to that? And I realized you can pack so much more information in something than you could in a regular CD booklet, because you have X amount of space, and then you also, you have to pay to have these little booklets made and have CDs pressed, obviously. And the more pages, the more your price runs up. So, with faster download times and all that, we have so much more we can add to a release. It's not always as cool as thumbing through. You can add videos. But you can also just add tons of info about the recording process, the gear, the whatever you want. Yeah. And, it comes downloaded with it. And you get all this extra stuff.
Well, think about what the...
And now everyone's using, their phones would have a decent screen.
I don't know if we'll ever, as the public at large, I don't know if we'll ever see any benefit from it. But if you're a movie distribution company, this whole idea of going digital
is awesome.
That is great for you, because now you don't have to pay to have 35 millimeter print screens, which I don't imagine is cheap.
Well, you
don't have to pay to ship them, and the only problems that the only downside is
the encryption.
Right. You're going to have to put it out there in the astrowebs.
But they're already doing it. Major theaters are already doing it.
Yeah, right. And then somebody could get it.
Yeah.
But they can get it even if you're not putting it out. If you're mailing it, people can get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be people there, no matter what you do.
There's a downside, but as far as the cost benefit to
it's a double-edged sword on both sides.
Yeah. But do you think we'll see any benefit from that as the consumer?
Oh hell yeah! Because they're already talking about. They've been talking about before this article even came out. They're talking, and one studio did it, and put a price tag on it that was way outrageous, and then pulled it back 6 months later. But a studio said that you can pay X amount of money and you can actually get the same stream that theaters get into your home. And then they pulled it back because it was like $60,000 to do it, and people were like, "Fuck that!"
Oh, that's stupid.
So they went back, but the discussion is still on the table of how they can do that. And with Netflix,
but you already do it now. It's movies on demand.
It is, and I think that's the compromise they've reached so far.
Have you seen now that there's some movies where it's like
it comes out at the same time
on demand on this date, in theaters a week later, on video 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I've noticed there've been some.
I think that was the compromise to it. But if you
saw that movie Suck, and which is really good if you haven't seen it. It's a vampire movie.
Yeah.
It's funny. But yeah, I went and saw it at the Cinema Cafe. They were having a special showing of it. But it was also out on demand, and it was out on DVD, like all on the same day. It was really bizarre. It's the first experience I'd had with it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think they are looking at, like with Google TV boxes now coming in, and with Apple trying to get the Apple TV a bigger presence in people's life. I think there's going to be a deal made with one of those companies where you can pipe in movies that are in theater at a premium price, of course.
I'm just curious how.
What's the
because look at YouTube. YouTube is now putting live stuff on there. You can rent movies. You can watch free movies.
What's the on-demand price for a new release movie?
It depends
like
what platform you get it from.
$5 or $6, I think.
Really?
Yeah, $4.99, something like that.
Because like on Xbox, it's I forget what.
But that's all part of what Kevin Smith was trying to fight against and do something different with Red State. It didn't get released in theaters. He took it on the road. It went from town to town to town to town. And sure, it was like $30-$40 for the ticket, so you're paying a premium, but you saw the movie. There was like the live Q&A afterwards. It was like event cinema. And
plus, the people who are into Kevin Smith are getting their money's worth because they love Kevin Smith.
Well, he's a funny guy, and I think that's, I don't know, maybe I would if he came here, I would have gone to see it, and happily paid that money, and
I mean, it's like going to a concert.
But he was always saying the whole time he had Red State on the road, he was like, we're going to go to this town and this town and this town, and he's like, but don't worry, if you want to see the movie and you can't make it to one of the live shows, it'll be available on demand on this date, and you can see it, and then it's going to be in theaters on this date, and then I'm going to have it on video. Like he didn't neglect those channels. He just sort of experimented with this road show first, and it was really successful.
The on-demand first is kind of weird to me.
That is strange.
I mean, it's kind of like the paperback coming out first and then the hardback. Yeah. Normally, they make you... They put the big grand thing out first, and then they're like... And remember, you used to have to wait a long time. It was like a year or two later, the paperback would come out.
But
or even on video. Remember, like a movie would come out of the theater, and it was like 2 years before it would get out on video. And then they got it down to 1 year, and then now it's like...
instant. Well, but I think the reason they're doing this is their compromise to try to fight piracy, because when it's out on theater, people would go to Pirate Bay and find it.
Yeah.
And, whether it's hand cam copy of it or whatever version of it, and they're trying to reduce that by...
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a snob about it. I would never watch a pirated hand cam movie.
No, I wouldn't either.
I have no desire to see anything like that.
Yeah. When Avatar came out,
that's kind of like listening to music through a crappy phone.
Well, when Avatar came out, I saw on a lot of different sites that they had a 3D handy cam of the movie, which is not in 3D. You just see the blur.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
crazy.
know. I mean,
I can't think of a movie I want. I mean, I'm a movie nerd, man, and I can't think of a movie that I want to see.
But if
bad enough,
that's the thing is, if you're a movie nerd, you want to see it in all of its glory. You want to see it,
right? Yeah, exactly. I want to see big screen, big sound.
Yeah,
I can do that.
And I'd be happy, pumping money into, like, if I wasn't living here and pumping money into getting a kick-ass theater, and if studios offered to pump in the digital version that they send to the theater into my home, I would be all over that.
Yeah,
because then we can come over.
Because, but will they do that though? Because
they're doing it.
Like the distribution kind of works hand in hand with the movie theaters. Like will Regal Cinemas be really happy?
But Regal is already reaching out to try to do this.
Sony.
Not to mention all of the food vendors. you know, Coca-Cola usually has a cut in something.
Yeah.
You know, depending on what theater it is.
But they said this when VHS and shit came out.
Yeah, I'm just curious how that's gonna work.
But theaters are already reaching out to try to make up that. They're doing live concerts now, streaming concerts.
Yeah, that's right. You can go and
you can go watch
one night only. You can watch like the.
I've never been to one of those.
They're doing gaming
at the Met kind of thing.
And you could see there was a 3D version of Fish. They did a live feed stream that was in 3D, and now they're doing it where you can go in and have gaming night and actually play game tournaments on the big screen.
But now this is almost just like renting out the gear.
Yeah,
you know.
But I mean, they do it at at a ticket price. You can go in there.
That would be interesting to play a video game on a big screen like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what we used to do here, but not like the big screen like that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So they're already bringing in new revenue.
Right.
So it wouldn't really. I mean, once that gets established and more people do it, it wouldn't.
That really brings a whole new meaning to like that idea of home theater.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be their best interest if they chose a premium cost for you to get instant movies.
The cost would be premium.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And if they started coming out with systems that would, 7.1 surround sound that was actually built by, people who know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, but so do you think it'll move forward to a point where it's like, you're gonna get the Avengers movie, right? Because that'd be cool. I'd stream that at home if it was available.
The one with Ray Fiennes and
the new one.
I know.
But it's like, so how much would it cost to get that movie in your home opening night? Is it $100? Is it $50? Is it $5? Is it $20?
Right.
I don't know. And then are they going to ask you questions like, well, it's $50 and your license grants you permission to show it to your family and 2 other people or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
it would probably just say you. Or you'd have to buy a family plan.
But what's to stop? Like, hey, dudes, I'm showing the Avengers at my house. Get 20 people in your living room.
Yeah.
Are they going to be cool with that? I don't think so.
Yeah, but again, that's probably the same argument that came out when VHS and video stores came out.
Yeah.
This guy can just rent this tape and then broadcast it to, the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have, unless you're pretty wealthy and you have the really nice plush home theater installed, it's going to be your TV. Best case scenario, or worst depending on how well you love design, you have like the 80-inch plasma or LCD screen, but even that's not it's not a theater.
Well, you can now get they just released 2 consumer grade where you can get the 40K monitors now, flat panel monitors, which is way better than high definition. So
what's better than high definition?
The 4K.
High.
It's super high.
Yeah, it's gonna go back to all the terms they used on like records in the 50s.
Yeah.
Super hi-fi in quad. Yeah. And those are the best because I still go to thrift stores and buy them, and they always have the description of like, our acoustical engineers worked ceaselessly and tirelessly on like giving you the best high fidelity sound, and they explain how the stereo spectrum works and like pull outs, and they're really cool.
Yeah,
that's what's good.
I don't know. I think that I think that the medium is inevitably, inexorably like a fucking juggernaut moving forward to digital, and you're not going to stop it. And so you can either get on board or get left behind.
Yeah. But save your VHS in case we have a some sort of Mad Max apocalyptic.
We still have VHS.
Yeah, that is the thing. Is like if these companies.
That's it. That's the fucking thing that we're all secretly worried about. We're like, oh my god, after World War III, will there be digital? Can I watch my TV?
Where's all my movies gonna
go?
They're all in the astrowebs.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they're trying to fuck us on all the piracy over the years, because if it's all in the cloud, they're like, turn it off unless you
know what
pay
though?
us.
I've have you used speaking of the cloud? Have you used Apple Cloud?
No.
Okay, so
I didn't know if it was free
I've had
It's
a
free
couple,
for. I think if you have the phone or the iPad, it's free.
Yeah, see, I don't have either.
I've had a couple computers crap out on me, and I know that I've downloaded songs from Apple that I've lost. Like they were on that computer, bloop, gone, hard drive shit the bed on me, and I was like, done. So, and I was like messing around on my phone the other day, and I was like, what cloud? What? And I was like, holy shit! I bought that song like when I first got my computer, and I haven't listened. And I was like, download it from the cloud. Awesome, got it again.
That's why.
I was like, sweet. That was awesome. I was like so happy about it.
Yeah, I use Carbonite, and all my shit's up in the cloud on Carbonite.
Yeah,
I don't use anything. I don't even have my shit backed up.
You know how many hard drives I have? I have so much shit backed
Too many.
up. I have multiple hard drives. I just bought a new hard drive, 2 terabytes.
You should get a bookcase.
And then I back everything up on the cloud. So all of our shows are up on the cloud. Everything that I do is up on the cloud. So if it goes.
but that's interesting, right? So now we're in this digital media age where everything's out
Somewhere else.
there. And you know what? Personally, I'm not really super concerned about the security of it in that I don't care if there's some guy out there who's really ingeniously stealing it. As long
who
as
cares?
Like if he's copying, my song library and poaching whatever music I happen to have or movies
printing out your photos and beating off to them.
Yeah.
As long as they're there when I want them.
Yeah.
So I really don't care about that. But what I'm worried about is, will it be there when I want it?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
that's what matters to me, I guess.
Well, that's the thing with
I mean, you can always still back everything up on a hard drive for emergency.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I have dedicated hard drives just for certain things. I have dedicated hard drives just for the cloud. I have dedicated hard drives just for music, photos, and stuff that we want to keep. And I back up all of those up into the cloud, and I have access to it on my phone anywhere that I want it, which I love. And the funny thing is that the new Google, I was doing Google Music when it was in beta, so all my music is also up on the Google cloud, but you can't download any of them. You can't pull them back off.
Oh, really?
You upload them, and that's it.
The Apple Cloud, you got, and like I said, I thought.
Well, the Google Cloud you can, but just not with Google Music. You upload your stuff to Google Music, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll fix that because they just.
It was like a pleasant surprise, Like I don't know, I bought some album. It's $10, right?
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm not. When your computer shits the bed, I'm more worried about, oh my God, fixing my computer, getting a new computer. That's a couple $100. I'm not worried about this $10 album so much. But then in retrospect, I was like, oh man, I wish I still had that. Mm-hmm. And then I went looking, I was like, oh, I still do have it according to Apple.
Yeah, that's cool.
And and that's why I've never minded paying for music. You know what I mean? Because I remember when the internet first started, everybody's like, oh yeah, man, Napster, I'm downloading everything. And I was always like, I like stuff and I don't mind paying for it.
Well, I used it to find stuff that I never thought I would ever listen to. I downloaded. I mean, I was part of that Napster generation, and I downloaded stuff that I didn't think I would like. It gave me birth to a whole new genre of music that
I've tested some stuff out, but I've never. There's like 1 or 2 albums that I've capped that I like feel guilty about, and I'm like, I gotta go buy. I gotta,
Well, I've done that. The stuff that I really enjoy, I've bought shitloads from.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a place.
But
for
I never
sample
used
things.
Napster.
Well, that's what I like about the new Google Music thing is that I have my music up there, and it gives suggestions just like iTunes does of what music you want. And then if you want, you can click, say, similar artists, go through all those, and you can actually listen to the full albums, not previews or anything. You can listen to the whole album. You can share the whole album with your friends through G+. And it's really just... Since I've been using it, I don't know why I'm plugging Google Music so much, but since I've been using it in beta and now that it's out of beta, it's kind of re-sparked my interest in music even more, and I've been buying more music, and I don't know why, because I have so much music already.
It's just one of those things. Has your interest?
Yeah.
It's odd. Some of my favorite albums are albums that I didn't like that much when I first bought them. And Download is a good example. When I first heard it, I was like, this is okay.
I could see how
it's a side project of Kevin Key.
Ogre was the same way.
From Skinny Puppy. Yeah, it's changed through its releases. I like the newer stuff better. But now there's some of my favorite albums. And it took me a while, for multiple listens to go, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, actually, that is cool. Whereas if I had just listened to it, and done all the previews and I didn't have to buy it and be stuck with it, I would have dismissed it and I probably wouldn't like them now. So, I'm not saying, that's like horrible. I'm just saying it's,
well,
one of those things when you just go out and buy it, you're like, oh. Of course, I've got a handful where I'm just like, I've got more of those.
Well, Sideline Mag does a good thing. They make these compilations where
Did you just get the newest one?
I haven't got. I'm going to though tonight.
There's an Alpha Matrix one that's out now from that label. Yeah, it's only going to be up a couple more days.
I'll grab it tonight. Yeah. But the volume 1 that they put out,
Face the Beat.
Yeah. There's like 50, 75,
50, about 50, 55 tracks.
Of just artists. And they give it out for free.
The good thing about that
is
awesome. Is there a lot of those? They look for small artists and unsigned that are.
And there's some really good bands on that. Oh my gosh, I find myself listening to that album more than what I
really.
Expected.
I've only kind of glanced through it. I was like, nah. But I need to really listen. The Alpha Matrix one I like a little better.
Yeah, because I had it, during the house when I'm here. I have music always in the background. Sometimes I just get
jealous. I'm like, fuck them.
And more times than not, I'll just have it on shuffle and just listen to music, and there'll be a song come on. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good, but who the fuck is that? And I go and it's from that compilation. I'm like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm all about free music when it's like various artist compilations and unknown.
Yeah.
If you want to give all your music,
that's how
it's getting your foot in the door, and that's people going, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of bands now that just they give everything away for free, which is cool if that's what you want to do. But a lot of times it's like a new song every week, and people aren't putting as much work into it as they used to.
Or you could be like,
and it's one thing to put a song out every week. Oh yeah, because anybody can write a song every week, but actually I was reading a guy's rant about this on Facebook the other day, but it's another to put them all together and see that they flow in the form of an album and they all kind of sound the same, have a kind of a thematic, tie in, and there's an art to that as well, instead of just being like free song. But I love the free compilation.
Well, everybody likes stuff that's free, but I think that's also indicative of another change that's occurring is it's all about the live show now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the free song
is to get people
is an advertisement for the upcoming live show, and bands are touring more and more and more.
And your show better fucking be good.
Yeah.
Or no one's going to come again.
But and they're not
but the samplers, remember, used to be cheaper. It was like $9 instead of $16 usually for stuff like that. So so it's kind of the same thing.
But now we're you're seeing more bands play live shows at smaller venues.
Well, everybody's got a band now. I mean, there are infinitely more bands than there were before.
I'm in a band.
Yeah. Although it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of, especially for like the dancier stuff. You can be in as many bands as you want, and it helps if you're like a single good-looking dude. You're gonna get laid, but you know what? You're not gonna get as laid as much as the fucking DJ, which drives me nuts. Because you'll spend like half a year to a year working on an album, and the DJ will get it and hit play, sync those tempos up, and he's gonna go home and bang all those chicks.
Yeah. Well, there was an article.
Or you got to play a guitar and sing at the same time. Those guys. We talked about that on another show.
There was an article in the New York Times about this one dude who's a DJ, and he's just like some dude, and he's paid thousands of dollars a night.
DJs get paid. Well, the big popular DJs get paid thousands of dollars a night, and they fly all over the world.
Yeah.
Like Israel, they'll do the show and television.
But I don't understand that. Like, why is this guy getting paid so much money to play music that somebody else made?
A lot of times they remix it on the fly, and they do different mixes and add things depending on what kind of. I know.
What is this?
Yeah, I know. It's all about just having a party and having a good time, and it's like, oh, I have good taste.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, your guess is good. Let me tell you, as a lonely electronic musician who never gets laid, I'm just like, what is going on?
Do you watch South Park much? Do you remember there was a South Park episode called it was funny, it was called Heroin Hero. And they were kind of making fun of Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But so they're playing Guitar Hero, and they're playing it to Kansas, Carry On My Wayward
this
Son.
one I have seen. I love this
Wasn't
episode.
that great? And he takes the song to the record producer, and he's playing, and it's like, Carry On My Way. It's like, and the guy's like, yeah, I like it. Is this them? He's like, no, this is Kansas. But they scored 100,000 points to this song. And he's like, I think we can make a record out of this. It's like, funny. They already made the record. Why are we, why is it?
Is that the same one where all the kids are playing Guitar Hero? And then the dad is like, oh, you like guitars? Check this out. And he plugs it in, and he starts really playing. And they're like,
no, that's
whatever,
stupid.
Dad, we're trying to. I was so hoping, I'm maybe Guitar Hero has helped the kids get into music more. I hope so.
Maybe.
But it would be sad if they just don't. They're like, ugh.
And I just got them into electronic music. They like pushing buttons.
Click. And there's that scene with the one kid that's really good.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't even need music.
Yeah, he's just doing it. And they're at some restaurant, and all you hear is like.
Yeah.
And some guy goes, oh, I love this song.
Yeah.
It's retarded.
But I think that almost, you can almost see that as a comment on the whole DJ thing, right? They're not really playing the music; they're just doing some other skill to somebody else's music.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say it depends on the DJ though, because some
Paul Van Dyke.
Yeah, I mean, well, like all those guys, they'll sample a bit from another song. They build this new bridge and verse, and they put effects in. And sometimes they write their own parts to go over them, and it's this whole like show. I still would prefer to see the band.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But if you're at a club and it comes on, it has a new beat to it, you're there to dance. And if you're into dance, then
I don't know.
Most of the time though, the DJs are just matching them up.
Yeah, just doing the beat and sync.
You go to a show to get in, it's $30, right? Really, who's playing? It sounds like the Beastie Boys. No, it's DJ so-and-so, but he's spinning Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
$30, and I don't even get to see the Beastie Boys?
Yeah.
That is true.
First of all, I wouldn't pay $30 to get into a club.
Yeah, well, hey, some places it's that much.
I've been into $30 clubs.
Oh, I haven't. I wouldn't go. Not unless a band's playing. And
that's what I'm saying.
and $30. Well, yeah. I'm just saying. Did you pay $30 to go in?
Fuck no.
Okay. Well, then I don't see the problem.
Pay $30.
But if they were like, "Hey, the Beastie Boys are inside playing," then I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But it was like, no, it's DJ so and so.
Oh, so you're saying this really happened to you?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
We were in London.
Oh, well, I guess that's why it's $30 to get into a fight.
It was probably even more than that because it was probably £30 or
but it was probably
the math. I don't
well-known
know
DJ so and so.
Yeah,
but I would go to see. I would go to pay money to see DJ. Oscrock or whatever. Oscrock. I can't even talk.
Accu-Crack?
Yeah, thank you. I don't even know.
That's a name. Accu-Crack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I would pay money to see.
I wouldn't pay $30 to see.
Probably not $30, but
Although I would pay $30 to see a bunch of guys hit play and then go like this in front of their keyboards and scream into a microphone.
V&V Nation's coming.
Yeah, they don't scream. No. And their drummer plays live.
They don't have a drummer.
Yeah, they do.
I'm just kidding.
The big tall guy in the back. He doesn't drum for all of them, but he's got the electronic set. It's awesome.
No, but they are coming.
Yeah, they are coming. But they're coming to the fucking
Have you heard
Norva, which has the worst sound of any place in this area.
They sponsor us.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Whatever. The Norva has the shittiest sound ever. It sounds like you're in a
we saw a V&V
easy bake oven. I mean, it's just like...
We saw a V&V at 930 Club the last time, and it was way better than here, but not much more.
Yeah.
But Miley, what do you think of the new album? Have you heard it?
No, I haven't. I'm out of money. I haven't been able to buy anything. No.
Well, we have it. We'll talk. No,
we don't support.
I know. I was just kidding. I know. I have a iTunes gift card. I was going to give.
Somebody bought it.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about piracy, music, and industry. We need
Commando too. It's been out. The Implements of Torture. It's been out.
I want to get the new Skinny Puppy.
I heard a bad review about it, but it was from this girl that listens. Hates everything.
I put the whole thing. It's on Google Music. I listened to the whole thing at work today.
Yeah, because it's a little more ogreish. All of it has been progressing.
Yeah, because anyway, it's not
going to be last rights.
We need to move away from. Oh, look at that!
Wearing his Dig It shirt.
Oh yeah, God's gift, maggot. But anyway,
she knows.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. So let's get off of music and the digital industry and move on.
We haven't talked.
I know we haven't talked about anything.
I know, right?
Do you remember?
I've been waiting for one of Jason's famous segues where he's like, "Well, speaking of digital music, let's move on to the next topic that has nothing to do with the previous."
Kevin Key, I have the key to a.
No, but seriously, speaking of
segues, I'm thinking of the word you used last, sublime.
Yeah.
No, but speaking of old formats, you remember the game Rampage?
I do, with the monsters.
With the monsters, where you climb.
You can be the like the Godzilla
or the King Kong type, and then you climb up the building, smash them, you eat the people and stuff. I love that game. I played so much fucking time. Guess what? They're making a movie.
That's not a good sign.
That's awesome.
I know it really is not. It's not.
Maybe it'll be like as good as like Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Or
Super
Mario.
Well, let me tell you this. This is the information that I have now.
Why has there been
John Rickard is supposed to direct or write this film.
I was hoping you were going to say Uwe Boll.
No, this guy, he did the movie Horrible Bosses and Final Destination 5. He's set to produce the film, so he's.
I bet it's in 3D.
Oh God, I hope so. But he's talking right now, looking for he's
buildings in 3D is pretty rad.
He's looking for writers for it now. New Line Cinema is going to fund it. The Hollywood Reporter states in an interview with it, says that, quote, the project aims to take advantage of the title and the visuals of the game. That's all they said about the film. The visuals of the game.
There really aren't any visuals. There were.
It was the most two-dimensional.
Two buildings like this.
It's like maybe four, and then you had the side scroll, climb up, smash, 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 eat, smash, 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 eat, hit the other monster, smash, 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 eat. That's it.
Yeah, punch up to hit the helicopter.
Yeah. So.
That's like saying the visuals of Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
That's pretty much what it is.
The immersive world.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. It's like, what the fuck?
Didn't Rampage, wasn't it one of the games where it was like a 3-player at one point?
Yeah, no, you could
3 or 4 people.
No, you could play up to 4 people, and you fought each other, and then you had to fight to tear down the most buildings, and you got extra points for eating the people and smashing the helicopters and fighting off the cops because they were just shooting at you.
That's one of the first games where you got to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was one of the best. I love that. It was
a fun game.
I would still play the shit out of that game.
I'm like,
I had a friend that had it.
why would you make a movie out of that game?
Well, let's think about the aspects. If they're going to make a movie, which they are.
First of all, any of the Godzilla movies after like the first two were that movie.
Yeah.
It was basically multiple monsters destroying
but that's man in
and
suit
fighting.
stuff. I mean, that's
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not like it's a new concept. Like two monsters destroying a city.
What angle would you do this? Would you be viewpoint of one of the
Totally 8-bit,
monsters?
the entire
Yeah.
thing.
That would be awesome. But
God,
what?
I can't believe this was shot on film.
So what? I mean, would you do the viewpoint of the monster, or would you take the military side of it? Because that's the only two aspects of the game there are, unless you're one of the persons trying not to get eaten, and that's a really
It'll
boring
probably
fucking
be
movie.
from the point of view of some like Shia LaBeouf kind of character.
He would. This would be a movie he would have.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Where like the guy's smashing a window and he can go no.
Getsuki! And he comes down.
You know, one of the things I remember about that game though was like if you die, you didn't really die. You got turned back into a human, and you were like, "Boo," and you shrink, and you would be like a little naked guy at the bottom of the
That's
screen,
right.
and he was like covering up like this, and he would like sidestep off the screen.
That's right. I forgot about that element. So that actually adds a new.
But it was almost like, but the game
So it's
was
Incredible
almost
Hulk.
like comic violence.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Well,
they would
it's
drop
probably
drop flower pots on your
Oh, that's
head.
right. That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it was a comic violence game, and
So this is going to become.
and I don't know. I hope. I just. It's one of those things. You're like.
It's like
on
Battleship.
one hand, you're like, yeah, right, exactly, Battleship.
Yeah.
How in the fuck do you make a game out of Battleship?
Maybe
a
they'll
movie out of
add
Battleship?
aliens.
They did it.
We'll see.
You know.
Somebody's done it.
I love Rampage though, and I think if
It was
if they
fun.
do this movie,
Wow, imagine if they did it with like Rebound. I don't know if anybody had that game. You like had the little marble and you bounced it off. You know, I mean, it's like
Give it time.
Where do you
Give it time.
stop? You know,
Yeah, right.
Actually, that would be like a post-apocalyptic kind of Running Man kind of a thing.
Coming soon to 2013.
Sylvester Stallone in Rebound.
but if they do it in 3D, it could be the only saving grace for this movie.
Well, that director likes 3D,
Yeah.
and the 3D.
He does
effects
3D good.
and you know the last Final Fantasy movie was kind of cool.
But he's
Final
not he's not
Destination.
Or
directing
Final
it.
Destination.
He's
Final
not
Fantasy.
directing it or writing. He's just producing it.
Oh, well,
He's putting the money on the table and said, "Do it." So I don't know. I mean, actually, New Line Cinema is putting the money down on the table, and he's just
yeah, he's figuring out where to spend it.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm really.
That's one of those things. I keep thinking of Stan Marsh in South Park. Oh, it'll be shit.
It may
I hope
be.
it doesn't suck.
So we'll keep you posted once we. Ooh, we'll keep you posted once
I
we
think
find
it's
out
kind
more
of a cool
information.
idea. I'm kind of curious to see what.
See how they're going to do it.
It'd be funny if you kept a comedic element in it,
Yeah, that would be
depending
good.
on, I mean, how you did it, obviously. But
Yeah, I don't know. It's
could go. I mean,
yeah.
you know, how do you judge them when someone goes, "Oh, well, they're going to make this," and you go, "Okay," you know, I haven't seen anything, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's an indication of just how creatively bankrupt Hollywood is. They can't have an original idea, so they're just mining obscure.
Well, they're
video
just trying to hit the market that we grew up in. They're trying to cater to us.
right,
now,
but it's not like
we're
anybody-
smarter than that. They insult
could
our
take the
intelligence with
idea,
it.
though. You could take
Right,
the
but-
idea of two. Hey, remember that? I thought of this idea for a movie based off of that. Instead of going, I'm making a movie from that.
And it's gonna
but
be
what
called
I'm saying is,
Rampage.
You can't anymore. You can't go. If the guy goes into the pitch meeting and he says, look, I've got this great idea
Yeah,
for this giant monster horror movie, and I think it'd be good because it'll incorporate like a King Kong type monster, a Godzilla type monster, and I forget what the other one was, like a big werewolf.
He
type
probably
monster.
did, and somebody goes,
And-
"That sounds like that game."
No.
Rampage."
What I'm saying is, like, he pitches the movie, right? And whatever his concept is, he pitches the movie, and they're like, "No, that'll never work." But then he goes, "No, it's based on Rampage," and then they're like, "Oh, now that's something familiar they can anchor it to," and so now they move forward with it. It's just
You know why I hate
it's
corporations?
creative bankruptcy.
You know why I hate corporations? Because in the movie industry, you can steal ideas all the time. But if you are Samsung, Microsoft, or Apple, they have so many patents that if your product looks even near my product, we'll sue the shit out of your patent infringement.
It's different though. I think that's different because patents patent a technology or not. It's not necessarily.
Have you seen how have you seen the blueprints that's patented by Apple for the iPad? Let me draw it for you. It is that simple.
Well, like next time I make something that's a square, I have to get Apple copyright.
That's it. I mean, seriously, I'll show it to you after the show. It is so simple and basic. It could be this piece of paper if it had a digital screen.
That would be a weak patent. I had a friend that was a patent examiner.
There's a lot of weak
and he said like the strength of there's this term where they talk about the strength of the patent.
But apparently it's pretty strong.
You know what? I can patent the fucking circle, and then everybody that's driving a car with 4 circles for wheels, I could claim that they owe me money. But I could make that claim and I could make that suit, but that doesn't mean I'm going to win.
They're winning in Australia, Germany, and several other European countries.
Because they made a tablet that was square.
That looks like the patent that Apple has. But anyway, that's a whole different story. We'll get
Why don't
into
they just sue everybody that puts an I in front of something?
Well, Barnes and Noble suing Microsoft because of patent or Microsoft is suing Barnes and Noble because of they have something within their Nook tablet that is similar to what Microsoft uses, and Barnes and Noble is countersuing for it's so these patent wars are insane. I've been reading about them.
That's what's going to happen. I mean, that's to be expected, but that doesn't excuse the bankruptcy of the creative talent.
No, I'm not saying it is. I just think it's funny how
And I've heard other guys say like you can't pitch an original idea in Hollywood. You can't. They never get greenlit.
Well, let me give you an original idea. The next movie that I have on the list for us to talk about.
What a segue.
Here is an original idea coming from Hollywood. It is set for the release date of March 15th, 2013. It's Warner Brothers. And today it just announced that Kit Harington will play King Arthur in the movie Arthur and Lancelot.
Again,
wait. The tagline that they're attaching
Kit
to it.
Harington.
Yeah, I don't. No, he's from Games of Thrones. But their tagline right now for this movie is it's a big budgeted re-imaging of the classic tale. So original.
That's all.
The only good Arthur movie,
King Arthur movie made in a while.
Excellent. The last one was Excalibur.
Excalibur, yeah, John Borman's movie.
Yeah. That was
what about the one with Richard Gere? It was an
that was called First Night, and it was awful.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't all of King Arthur, but
no, that was First Night was more of a Lancelot story.
Yeah.
And so fine, it was awful, but at least it was sort of like a new spin on an old tale, and it was what it was. And
but I mean that's all we ever get anymore, even if they're good, like the new Snow White we talked about. There's another Snow White coming out at the same time.
Yeah, it's directed by Tarsem.
Yeah, and it's got
Julie Roberts.
Yeah, and
that's right.
It's more of a comedy. It looks like
it's played for laughs.
But still, it's like.
It's like, why do we need 2 Snow White movies?
She's playing the wicked stepmother.
Yeah, I mean,
the exasperated wicked stepmother.
Yeah. But it's this. It had to be the same. It had to be the same pitch. What was it you just read? The classic tale re-imaged in a new way.
No, big budget.
But you know what? But I also think that I also get.
We just got Little Red Riding Hood again. The classic tale re-imaged in a new way.
The different thing about this film, about this Warner Brothers film, is the director attached to this is David Dobkins. He's the guy who did Wedding Crashers. So this could be Zorro the Gay Blade version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all right. So Red Riding Hood, Snow White, King Arthur. These are stories that have been told and retold for centuries.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So So I almost can give them a pass because that's just sort of the nature of the fairy tale is that they get retold, retold, and retold.
So,
retold.
but in 150 years, when someone is re-imaging Rampage for the 20th time,
the classic magical tale.
Someone's gonna go. They've been telling that shit since the late 80s, man.
Well, I mean, there's something to those fairy tale stories. And
of course, they are classic.
There's something about them that resonates.
But we also grew up with Rampage.
There is something special about it. But why do we need to have two in the same market in the same year?
Well, I don't think. I don't know. That could just be coincidence.
Well, it was why I don't know. Sometimes
I don't think there's a coincidence because you have to buy the rights to certain titles.
Look what happened with Capote and Infamous. It was two Truman Capote movies made by two different studios at the same time. Yeah. And the studios claim they didn't know the other guy was doing that. There's no way
that you didn't know.
They're liars.
The Prestige and The Illusionist.
Yeah.
It was like two movies centered around magicians in the same time
but actually,
period.
Right.
in that
They were two totally different movies.
Right.
And I like The Illusionist a little better. Actually, a lot better. Even though they were both really great movies.
Yeah.
But, come on. I mean, what are the odds? How many movies have been made about magicians?
But if you know anything about the movie,
many. And, then they put
and how many have been made since? None yet. You know.
But if you know Hollywood, they sent out a lower budget movie
to
the market
with the kids right now
before the big budget just to judge audience reaction to it.
Well, these things have happened before though. When and I forget which studio was doing it. It was like. Warner's and I don't know 20th Century. Like the studios have been fighting each other since the 20s and 30s.
Oh yeah.
And you can look back and what was the movie? It was like one studio did the Happy musical Annie Oakley. Mm-hmm. So then the other studio has to, in the same year, they come out with another movie about the highfalutin gun slinging ballad singing woman. It was Annie Oakley and then Calamity Jane.
Yeah.
So like one studio comes out with Annie Oakley, and then a couple months later, the other studio has to do Calamity Jane. They're both musicals. They're both So these battles are not new.
Yeah. No, they're not. But they need to fucking get over themselves and give us some new shit.
But I don't know. Did you ever see there was a really funny Saturday Night Live skit where it was I want to say it was like making fun of NBC or whatever network, and they were making fun of how like one network's shows were just like copies of the other network's shows, and
well, look what they did when The Walking Dead took off and blew up. How many TV series that deal with horror movies or horror themes?
All of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and all you can do is hope that some of them will be good.
Yeah, that's the only zombie one. I mean,
well, that's the only zombie one. Well, but they're like okay.
No, there's others. There's another one. It's the MTV has one. It's Death Valley or something like that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And it's sort of played. It's played straight, but played for laughs.
Right.
Where they live in that zombie world, but now like the police have to go out. Oh, we got to go out on a 502. That's a zombie call. It's kind of funny.
It's kind of Reno 911 meets.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's Reno 911 meets Walking Dead.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
It is actually good. They ran ads on our site for a while.
And they actually, it diverts from the zombie bit a little bit where they'll have like wolfmen and vampires and stuff. But it lives in that supernatural horror world. And I guess that's just a natural extension of what.
Well, I think it's a good time to be a horror fan now because of all this is picking up. Well, the number one cartoon right now is like Monster High.
Monster High.
And we're going to have the woman who does the voice of one of the characters on the show.
I'm kind of nerding out a little bit about that.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah. I don't want to mention anything, but
I bought one of the little figures for James.
Aren't they awesome?
Have you seen the song?
I haven't seen
It's really snappy and poppy.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the cartoon. I didn't even know it was a cartoon until right now.
Is it awesome? It's amazing. She's going to come on the show very soon.
How did you do that?
We'll save that for another time to talk about. But
okay.
Stay tuned. We have some really very exciting
show. Not like on
Yeah.
into your
I'm like, who do you know?
very humble abode.
So yeah, we're gonna get our purging done before this interview. But anyway, so speaking of monsters, though, you're a big Frankenstein fan.
Yeah,
Huge Frankenstein fan.
pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a new movie
I
coming
did
out.
debate getting these stitches all over my body, and yeah.
And then you would look like the guy from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. Why are you dressed up like Sally? It's Frankenstein.
Somebody would do, are you like, come on, man?
That would be so awesome.
True story. This is a segue, but I guess it's relevant. When I was a kid, my grandfather was from Baltimore, Maryland, and he was a diehard sports fan. Mm-hmm. And during baseball season, he would wear an Orioles cap, and during football season, he wore a Colts cap. This is when the Colts were in Baltimore. And then he retired, and him and my grandmother, they bought a house in Wilmington, North Carolina, and he went there and became a Tar Heel and played golf. But he still rooted for the Orioles, and he rooted for the Colts. And this was back in the day when the Orioles had the sort of the cartoon bird on their hat.
The O.
It was the O's. It was always, they were always the O's,
okay.
But the bird emblem wasn't like the ornithologically correct
Right,
Oriole.
right.
It was
And
like
it
a
had the big
cartoon
eyes
character.
and the
Yes,
little beak
it was like
and
a cartoon character bird. And I remember we were little kids and we were in a grocery store, and some lady was commenting about his hat, and she was like, "Oh my word, I love your Woody Woodpecker hat." And he got so mad. He was just like, "Come on, lady!" He was so upset.
That's funny.
That's the only reason I love old ladies.
He was really mad. That's just funny, bro.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's awesome. But going back to I,
Classic
Frankenstein.
case of not getting it.
There's a graphic novel called I, Frankenstein.
Like I, Robot.
Yeah.
And they're paying the royalties to Apple right now.
Right now, yeah. Yeah.
No, it's,
It's
actually I, comma Frankenstein.
Oh, okay. That's how they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Lowercase I, big F Frankenstein. That would have cost money.
Well, the co-creator from the Underworld franchise is doing a modern day epic of the the movie I, Frankenstein, based on the graphic novel. But it's going to be set in modern times.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lionsgate Studios is the one who's backing it financially.
Sounds fun.
The director is Stuart.
I like Lionsgate.
Well, the director is Stuart. The guy, the director who did Pirates of the Caribbean, G.I. Joe, 30 Days of Night.
Ooh.
Or actually,
I'm not impressed.
He was the screenwriter. He didn't direct
like
these
30
movies.
Days of Night.
Well, he was a screenwriter for these Pirates of the Caribbean, End's World, The Curse of the Black Pearl, and Stranger Tides.
So, do you know the story behind 30 Days of Night? I'm pretty sure it's 30 Days of Night. I'm 99.9% sure this is the story. So the guys that wrote 30 Days of Night,
The comic.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
They wrote it first, and they pitched it as a script, and they got nowhere. They pitched it to studio after studio after studio, and they got nowhere with it. And they were tired of it. And so they were trying to think outside of the box. Comic-Con was coming up, so they hired an artist and they made a comic book out of their script and took it to Comic-Con with the express purpose of selling it as a movie, and were successful.
That's pretty amazing.
So it was originally conceived as a movie. They failed to get it greenlit just as a script.
Yeah.
So they had to make it into a comic book first to get it greenlit as a movie.
That's pretty smart, though.
But it's that point where we were talking about earlier. Nobody wants to greenlight an original idea. They have to have something
it's
else.
based off of the novel.
They got like, oh well, this is based on a graphic novel.
I heard something about the guy who did The Walking Dead, and I can't remember who he said he was pitching it to, or a group of people who were making it. I don't know if it was. I think it was whoever went to like make the show with AMC that was pitching it. They wouldn't buy it, and he said so. They were like, I don't know, zombies, and he said, well, zombies. But what we'll find out is that it's
Don't run the
actually it's actually aliens that have come and are using the dead to wake up and take over the world that way. And they were like, oh, okay. And it started to make headway. And he said, I told them the plot to Plan 9 from Outer Space. And it got the okay. And then I was like, I am not doing that. And then it just stuck with it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know, man. It's just I get so aggravated with movie studios and how
It's like, why do the studios have the right to what is good?
well,
they don't. They just have the cash to pony up.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's an investment. It's
right.
all,
But
you're
here's
not
the
going to
thing,
put
like-
it in and to lose
Well,
anything.
what we need to do is people who write screenplays or write pitches, they need to go to a special school of how to sell their idea better because
Well, these guys that did 30 Days a Night, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
No, I
that
think
they
it is
had.
too.
And right, so it's like, wow, cool. We make a cool comic book, and then they sold a movie. But their original intent was to make a movie.
yeah.
Well,
They had no interest in comic books whatsoever.
But
they
the
saw
cool
that as
thing
an
is-
avenue to movies.
And it worked out in both worlds for them because both in the comic book and in the movie, they're making money on both fronts.
Well, I mean, I don't know how successful the comic book was.
When
but
the
that
movie
doesn't
came
matter.
out, but when the movie came
comic
out,
was huge.
people were picking up the comic book,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, that's the power of cross promotion.
Yeah, and that's pretty smart.
Media platforming or something. I don't know. But you know, like how many really good ideas get thrown away in Hollywood because like it's not based on something else.
Yeah, and that's the one. Going back to the music thing, is I like the new format that Google's put out there, and I'm sure Apple will pick it up eventually, where artists can throw out their stuff. Because you know how many artists that are probably really, really good that's been shelved because they wanted to put money into somebody else, or they wanted to sit on it for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, it's great that Google provides that opportunity because
Amazon does too.
they're by far not the only ones. Actually, they're kind of late into the game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but making music and making a movie are I think that they're.
But they're tying YouTube.
But
into
the
this as
original
well.
way to make music and to get it out there, and not on the small level of like the weird electronic shit that we listen to, but like big music, that you hear on the radio, you do have to go only through these distributors, and you have to get the okay of executives. And they ultimately decide what songs get on the albums.
Right,
and
but what I'm saying is, the musician has already made the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
whereas
a lot of times
making the movie is
no. Actually, it's different because the old way it would happen, the musician would get, they would get signed because some A&R guy went out and said I like their sound and convinced someone else. Then they would get money to go into the studio. And then you spend X $100,000 making the album. Then they have to pay that money back to the label. So
I see what you mean. Like
'cause
making a studio album,
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
recording them playing live
no.
at Joe's
So,
Crab Shack.
yeah, making the studio album. So then basically the label sells the CDs for $16, $15, $18. And the average the artist got, Trent Reznor wrote an article about this recently, urging all these musicians to dump labels. He'd get about 80 cents out of the $18 that it was sold for, and then you'd have to repay the label back the money they gave you to record
really?
it. Yeah. Plus, you don't own the rights to it.
You lose all that.
So
I can tell you about the rights from making the movie that we did for my previous job. It wasn't just like, okay, we want to put this song in our movie. They'd be like, all right, well, you have to get this contract signed with the artist. You have to get this contract signed with the publisher. You have to get this contract signed by the label because all three of those own a fraction of the song.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if one of them doesn't sign it, you can't have it.
Yeah, with songs, there's the regular copyright, there's the publishing right, there's the sound recording right.
Yep.
I mean, there's all these different weird
yeah,
things.
but usually
and everybody's got their hand in it.
Oh my God!
And all these corporations on a large level have to agree who's going to get what and how much. And if then when all is said and done, there have been tons of artists where they go, we're just going to shelf this. We don't think it's going to sell. and the band is either they cut their losses or they sell enough till they've paid them back, and then they scrap it.
Yep.
And it's
Yeah,
just
but usually with movies though, it's usually like a writer or somebody. It's like somebody with an idea. That's all they have.
Yeah.
They don't have a finished product. They don't.
well,
have,
the band doesn't have a finished product.
They have an
band,
idea.
A band has songs.
No,
they
no,
have
no.
a sound.
Actually, that's you think a band has songs because I mean, John Feldman. He's not only a singer for Goldfinger, but he's a producer, and we are friends. And he showed me how this stuff works. He's done bands like The Used, Good Charlotte, and big name bands. They have a song. It doesn't mean the song that they approach you with is a song that's on that album.
Yeah,
right, but at least they have something.
Well, they have
you
the
have a
ability to
script when you
play.
go when you have
right.
a,
So
Yeah.
they have talent and skill.
But that's like, I mean, that's what a writer has.
Yeah, but you know, like, but his what a writer has, I think is I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just.
because you know like
abstractly.
it's like if I have a script, it's no different from the band that brings a song. They're both parallel. You hand it to somebody and you go, give me money to produce this script or give me money to produce this song. And they're like, well, you need to boost these levels or you need to change this.
No, they usually say you need to sound more like this band.
Yeah.
Or,
and that's what they're doing.
Or your front guys to.
He needs to get his hair cut and get a tan and get his.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That is, they do that.
What's oh shit, Jan would know the name. There was a guy. It was like one of the one-hit wonders from the '80s. And they had a huge hit, but then they were like afterwards, we got to scrap the lead guys. The band kicked them out, and then they had no more hits after that. I'll ask her when they get
Well,
back.
if you look at, oh my God, Heart, or I think it was the band Heart. There was a heavyset
Two
woman,
sisters, yeah,
and they never showed her.
yeah, she got kind of fat.
Yeah, but nobody
Well,
showed her.
She
Wilson
didn't used to
Phillips.
be fat.
Yeah, Wilson Phillips. That's what I'm thinking
yeah.
of.
Oh, yeah, Wilson Phillips had the one fat girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you never saw her in promotion. You never saw her, and and then
Yeah.
until she's like, and they were pushing her to.
Yeah, and on the large things, they'll have teams of. What really drives me crazy is when like you get pop people and they're like, well, the lyrics I wrote were really a lot, but they don't write their own songs. It's always driven me nuts. Even like the old, going way back, like Sinatra and all those guys. Never wrote their own songs.
Well, you look at Willie Nelson.
There were songwriters, and it was just like, all right, I'm going to sing that. But they go, no, this one's good for you. You can't have that. Maybe not with Sinatra because once he can kind of do whatever he wants. But yeah, I mean, they're parallels. They're not exact, but
Yeah, I see that. I do.
It's fucked up, but
all right, now it's your turn.
But but I also think that's
we just ganged up.
come on, man. Like, why? You've got to get behind that guy that goes out and decides to make the movie for no money.
Well, like the people we interview on this show.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who did
Gary's Garden. Was brilliant.
Yes. The other film.
I want to know.
They
I want
just
them
they
to
just
do
got.
something else because it was really good.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will. But the film that the people that we interviewed not too long ago, they finally got a distribution deal, and the Fighting Owl films, The Night Shift.
Oh, was that the one that was a guy in the graveyard?
In the graveyard,
that was cool too.
They have an official deal now. They've been picked up and they're doing it.
We think it was due to no.
Yeah.
No, it was done because of zombie popcorn.
You just sprinkled some magic zombie popcorn dust
And
on
our
it.
association with Stitcher. If you go on,
It's true. But no,
Well,
I mean,
but those things are the exception, not the rule.
that is true. But I think we're at that peak where it's going to become more of the rule, where independent is going to start picking up more.
You know what? And is that part of what John Waters was talking about at that talk where John Waters is like, he's always said like, now we live in this time where anybody with a fucking camera can make a movie.
Yeah.
You don't have to have, hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget to make a movie. You can do it.
And that's true. And I don't want to mention the name yet because we're going to do an official launch. But that's why I teamed up with the email that I sent to you that we're going to start bringing in all that stuff and doing projects for. The reason I am so eager to become a part of that
mystery group.
That mystery group is because that is, and it may not ever become Warner Brothers or whatever, but that is going to be the way people see movies. That is the way people are going to find new talent.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think that'll all that stuff is hit or miss.
It is.
But
I'd rather
it only
be,
takes one hit. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean it's all hit or miss?
You could have some company and however they're distributing it, they're making short films and they could make 500 short films and they could all be really, really good, but it only takes the one to get noticed.
Roger Corman's made 300 films and barely is noticed by mainstream.
Well, I think Corman's different. Because Corman, his body of work was really huge, and he was
okay. His body of work is really huge, but I guarantee we can go walk down the street and ask an average Joe, "Who's Roger Corman?" They're not going to tell you who. Yeah,
but here's the thing about Corman though. He was that producer.
He was in it for a buck, though. I mean,
no, he wasn't in it for a buck. You could go to Roger Corman. Roger Corman was the guy you could go to with an idea.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, Roger, man, I got this great idea for a script. We're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And you could say, like, and he would ask, like, how much is it going to cost? And, you might say, well, I think I can do it. I can get it in for under $5 million. He's like, sounds good. I give you 2. Go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Yeah, I knew what
shit, if I had the money, I would do the same thing.
He had the distribution clout where he was gonna turn a profit on it. And he never turned... Corman never made blockbuster movies. Never. He made movies that made a little bit of money.
Right, drive it. But they showed in the trailer we watched for the documentary about his movies that he said he never lost money on a movie.
Yeah.
No,
he always made profit.
He always made a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And so Corman never had any blockbuster hits. But Corman was a guy you could go to with an idea and he would have funded it. He would say, all right, well, sounds like a good idea.
We have somebody right now.
Yeah.
We have somebody right now who does that, and that's Lloyd Kaufman, to an extent. He's maybe not as glorified as what we're saying Roger Corman is, but Lloyd Kaufman, if you can pitch him a good, I mean, you have to do a salesman approach, but if you can show him that he's going to make his investment back, he'll do your film.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe, and these guys, but like I said, he's not going to go like, all right, great, here's $200 million.
No, he's not. He's going to go like, here's $200.
Yeah, right.
It's how many big people got their start with
a lot of them?
Did they?
Yeah.
But that's again what we were talking about. A lot.
Trey Parker, Matt Stone started with Trauma.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they Tromeo and Juliet, or not Tromeo. Did they do? No, Cannibal Holocaust they did with Trauma. James Gunn did Tromeo and Juliet. James Gunn did Scooby-Doo.
They did Cannibal Holocaust.
But they did it afterward.
Yeah.
But James Gunn did Tromeo and Juliet.
Yeah, they did Cannibal the musical.
Musical, yeah, that's right.
Cannibal Holocaust.
I get it mixed up.
That's rough for them, man.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I always get
really
those two mixed up. But James Gunn did the same. Got to start with Trauma.
Yeah.
And he did Scooby-Doo. He did the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh.
He
Normally
did Slither.
they just employ
James Gunn didn't do the
ex-porn.
remake of Dawn of the Dead. The remake of Dawn of the Dead was Zack Snyder. James Gunn did Slither.
No, he did. Here, talk.
I love Slither.
I did. Slither is James Gunn.
James Gunn is definitely Slither. But I'll look it up while we talk. But yeah.
But those are guys that had an idea and pitched it and went forward with it. Whereas anything else that happens now is dictated by lawyers and accountants who go like, really, well, we don't see any basis for this. But if you were to go like, yeah, it's based on an obscure '80s video game, then they're like, okay, we could work with that.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Well, I mean, it is kind of a. It's a sad state of affairs,
Then
but
why don't we
yet
have
there it is.
James Gunn,
the
writer
movie?
director of 2004 Dawn of the Dead. IDBM.
IMDb.
Yeah.
There, I made my point.
Right there. He was the writer. Hold on.
Dawn of the Dead. I thought that was Zack Snyder.
He was the writer for it. So.
Oh,
This is
dueling Wikipedia.
Yeah, so the show is like 2 dudes on there, and one guy who can't afford one of those phones. Excuse me, one of those media bricks.
Media bricks. What was I supposed to call it?
He directed Dawn
Magical
of the Dead.
brick.
Yeah, writer and director of Slither and writer of 2004 Dawn of the Dead. But he's the writer. I'm saying he's the go down.
Screenplay by James Gunn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Directed by Zack Snyder.
I said he was the writer.
You said writer and director.
No, he was the director for Slither.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
That's what because it says
I
writer
think there's
slash.
some fancy backtracking going on here.
Nobody rewind
It's
this.
on camera.
Nobody.
There's
can
got to
rewind.
be an edit. No one's made it to this point anyway.
But anyway,
You know he doesn't edit.
I know.
Unless it suits his purposes.
yes.
My nasty ass sneeze got kept in.
But it got the most comments.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
But anyway, you like Arrested Development?
Yes.
I knew you were a
seen
fan
it.
of it, but
It's very funny.
there was a
heard,
there was
but I
a
just
press
haven't.
release sent out that said that Arrested Development will return
I always think
to
it's bad.
Netflix.
What does that mean?
What?
It'll return to Netflix.
They removed it from Netflix. And
Oh,
now-
really?
Yeah. That
I have Netflix.
but it's going to return January 3rd, 2013. Why is this news now?
I don't
Why
know.
can't they wait until
Well, you probably really don't need Netflix as much as the
No.
average person.
Yeah, right.
he doesn't have access to
Yeah.
any movie? But why is it?
I
Who
heard
cares
that-
if
I
it's coming
heard-
back
you
in
know what,
2013?
That might be relevant because I had read that there were some rumors that either Arrested Development would return to television with new material or they would move forward with an Arrested Development movie. And with the popularity of what's the actor's name? Jason Bateman, because he's in fucking everything
Yeah.
now. I could see that happening. And so, there might be an Arrested Development movie late in 2012, and then the show comes back to Netflix to 2013.
But don't you think this news would be
However,
more
I got
relevant?
we
Yeah,
have
for a
all the Arrested Development seasons available to rent at Nero Video.
There you go.
Just
But
saying.
but wouldn't this news be
You can
relevant?
rent them today.
Wouldn't it be more relevant if
I
they were
streamed
coming
it
up
from
with
Netflix, I wouldn't have to worry about scratches on the DVD.
Oh.
We do check them and replace them and repair them.
Then I will go to where?
Narrow Extended Video, 1511 Colley Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia.
I will go to this.
23503.
You know what my father always calls it? He's like, yeah, it was by the Nehru.
Nehru.
But then he says like, I'm gonna get a Yahoo drink. And I'm just like,
What's going on?
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, Arrested Development was a really funny show, and it was very funny. It was it was cutting edge television.
I just think the press release is a little early. I think if they're doing a movie, they should wait till the movie trailer hits or once it hits the theaters or something where it becomes more relevant. Saying it now doesn't. No, who cares?
Well, I
It's
also
2013.
think that there's this weird, it's like one of those weird demographics where the Arrested Development fans are rabid.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind
they're
of a
like
cult
crazy
show.
people.
Yeah.
And so like put a press release out, anything, give them something.
2013. Who cares? You know how long that is?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's the same
about
thing.
a year and a half.
There you go. Moving on. Speaking of the future, South Park has renewed through.
Brilliant. See, sublime.
South Park has renewed through season 20, meaning that you get original episodes until 2016.
Awesome.
Wow. Dexter has just renewed for an additional 2 seasons.
Really?
Yes.
I just want to know, is really South Park that popular where they can renew it till 2016?
Absolutely.
Or is Comedy Central just saying this is easy time
That
slot filler?
that is Comedy Central's bread and butter show.
I know,
And-
but really,
and of
is it
course
still?
they
Is
would
it?
renew it that much? And you know what? There,
Just merchandising alone is reason enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think
who
it's-
watches it still?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Like you did when it first came out.
Yeah.
You don't watch it anymore?
I haven't watched it.
Oh my
since-
God, the last-
I haven't since.
I mean,
I haven't
the
watched it
last
since season
couple episodes
2.
have been hilarious.
I watched the first season and that's it. And I've seen the
Yeah.
occasional one. But why have you stopped watching it?
Because it's not relevant. I mean, it's not relevant to my daily life. I'm doing other things.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that
I'll actually
okay,
say,
it's not relevant to my daily life. I mean, there's really, unless
but what on TV is? or
like
what
since they
movie?
canceled the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, very little is relevant to my daily life.
Game Master.
But as far as things that are going on in the world and news issues, I mean, shit happens on Monday and it's a South Park on Wednesday. I mean, they're that dedicated to topical stuff. And I think that South Park is it's bold and it's fearless and they don't care who they piss off, and it's really it's a groundbreaking show.
I think when it came out, that would be all right, and it'd be like, woo. I mean, I think we all said that. But I think the last South Park episode that I watched was when the new Tron movie was coming out, and they were making fun of Facebook, and they went into Tron. They went.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We watched it here just because we were going to go see Tron. That was it.
Yeah.
South Park will always be relevant because South Park isn't necessarily like trying to tell an overarching story. They're just trying to deliver social commentary.
But I just don't see
as long as that commentary continues to be bold and fearless, I think it'll still be relevant.
I actually think the writing on it is a lot better now in the few that I've seen of the newer stuff than it was when it first came out.
Well,
and it was jokes
they get
about
better.
like alien probings and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's actually gotten better as it's aged.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I think they're both brilliant when it comes to what they do. I mean, I really, really want to go see Mormon the musical.
Yes.
And everything they've done, I love Orgasmo. I love that movie. I don't think I've seen anything that
I even like baseball.
You have that
is border
poster in your bathroom,
yeah. That movie's borderline, but still I enjoy it. I mean, I think everything they do, but when it comes to watching South Park, it's just I don't find myself.
I thought Team America World Police was one of the funniest goddamn movies I have ever seen. I almost peed myself. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah,
that was great.
And I love their interviews when they sit down and do interviews with people. It's so fun.
Oh yeah, they're really astute and interesting guys to listen to. And
I have nothing against South Park. I just don't find myself watching it as I did when it first came out. And I guess mentally, I don't think I'm connected as much to it as I was when it first came out. It's like when Simpsons first came out. I was like, oh my god! After it left Tracy Ullman and started doing their own shows, I was like, oh my god, this is really fucking. And then after a while, it became,
See, I also think that I only watch The Simpsons occasionally.
Yeah, I don't watch them anymore either.
But I think they've gotten better over the years. Each year gets a little.
But
better.
I think the point that I'm trying to make is that just like The Simpsons is like, okay, the political commentary that they're giving is becoming so repetitive and it's almost predictable. So is South Park, and that's why I don't watch it so much.
Maybe you could predict their stance on something, but and they don't just deliver political commentary. Yeah. Because let's face it, the politics is a fucking zoo.
It's like our other show.
Just watch the news.
Yeah, and then you have content for
But they do things that are topical and relevant, and sure. Like I said, there's no overarching story, and it's not going to be. I don't know if they're going to be relevant to your day-to-day life, but the comments that they make are certainly relevant to what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny.
And it's funny.
I prefer
Holy
The
shit,
Simpsons
is it funny?
more. I love The Simpsons.
Did you ever hear the story about Matt Groening? And this is why I love The Simpsons. Do you remember the episode of The Simpsons where, and Matt Groening's an interesting guy, but there was an episode of The Simpsons where I think it was one where they ate the three-eyed fish. Mm-hmm. And Homer chokes on it, and he Heimlichs himself, and then the fish flies out of his mouth and goes across the table and into Mr. Burns' mouth, and so there was a news article, this news story about this man that had been choking, and his son delivered the Heimlich maneuver and essentially saved his life, and so they said, well, where did you learn to do that? And he said, oh, I saw it on The Simpsons. Wow. And so then they cut to Matt Groening and, asking his commentary on it. And Groening goes, I'm sorry. I never meant for anybody to learn anything from my show. It won't happen again.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah.
And that's the same attitude that Matt.
I just love The Simpsons. I love the little jokes, like the Treehouse of Horror one where.
I haven't seen the most recent Treehouse of Horror, but I've heard it was brilliant. I've heard I've heard the most recent Treehouse this past Halloween.
It was the one really where Mr. Burns was like Dracula after the and he has the bouffant, and they're not sure if he's a vampire or not. And then Homer goes, "Did everybody wash their necks like Mr. Burns?" And he holds out this nasty, dirty rag, and it's just I don't know. There's something about The Simpsons that I always find funny, and plus there's so many characters that they can do like a million, megaton of stories, and I love that they always make fun of themselves. Like, how many jobs has Homer had? Yeah. And they go, "Dad, don't you remember last year you were an astronaut before you were, and it's just, And
that's like Family Guy. I mean,
Family Guy's funny.
It's all relevant, but we should wrap this show up.
Wrapping it up.
We're over time now. We didn't even get to everything.
Save it for next time.
It was a slow week, and we didn't.
But it was cool talking about the music stuff, though, man, and like where digital media is gonna go. It's a round table discussion.
And also, don't forget we have a new show coming up.
That round table. I mean, we got these tiny little.
Okay, we had a triangle discussion.
I'm just saying. Clearly, someone's at the head of the table with the nice microphone over there, and sitting in a higher chair. And
what are you feeling a little intimidated?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm just saying I don't think it's balanced. That's all.
We wanted to be like Fox News, fair and balanced.
Yeah. This is the no spin zone. This is probably a lawsuit waiting to happen. I recant that statement.
That's trademark.
Please don't sue me, Bill O'Reilly.
But you can get your falafel.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Falafel.
Anyway. Stay tuned. We have a lot of good stuff coming up for Zombie Popcorn. Paul has a new episode, or new show. First episode's already been recorded. We'll have that up fairly soon.
Well, not like a total show. It's like a.
It's a total show.
It's like a 5-minute deal. So
you know what?
If you don't have a huge attention span, this is the one for you.
This is what you can watch at work.
I think it's good because it might actually trick you into learning something.
Oh, now you fucked it up. Don't listen to Bob.
After you made that mad growing statement, and then
yeah.
Damn it. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Don't forget to head over to the site and enter to win $100. Stay tuned because we have a lot of great stuff coming up from Zombie Popcorn. So have a good night.
Good night.
Night.